If you're hearing this voice, something in you has already died, and something else is rising in the silence. You once believed that kindness would make everything okay, that if you were good enough, honest enough, loving enough, the world would eventually repay you. But you've seen the truth. The world doesn't reward goodness. It only uses it to bind those who never learn to say, enough. You smile when you mean to refuse. You stay when you should have left. You explain yourself to those who never cared to understand. You call it love, but in truth, it's fear. The fear of losing approval. No one is coming to save you. There is no right time. No miracle. Only one command that you must write and sign yourself. From this day on, I reclaim control. The pain you feel isn't punishment. It's a signal, a sign that the old program has expired and your soul is demanding its throne back. You're not mistaken. This moment is your uprising. Machiavelli once said, "He who cannot control himself will forever be controlled by others." Every true rebellion doesn't begin with a scream. It begins with a silent decision. From this day on, I bow no more. That morning showed no sign of change. The coffee cooled on the table. The inbox blinked again urgent. You were about to nod, like every other day, then stopped. In that instant, there was no thunder, no light. Only one quiet command rising from within. Sovereignty returns to me. From that moment, you start to see the invisible strings. Don't upset anyone. Being agreeable is a virtue. Kindness keeps you safe. They don't tie your wrists. They wrap around your need to be loved. And with just a gentle pull, you bow again. You're not exhausted because you've done wrong. You're exhausted because you've lived too long under the weight of others' expectations. In every polite smile, in every forced, "It's fine," you traded your sovereignty for someone else's comfort. You begin to see clearly now. Unlimited softness is the sweetest trap. The world doesn't need you to be good. It needs you to have boundaries. Noon. The meeting room is crowded. You've done your work on time beyond scope, even. A familiar compliment echoes. You're such a team player. You'd usually smile. Today, you just nod and say slowly, "Everything beyond scope requires a different clause." No argument, no justification, just a new structure. That's how a human draws a blade without drawing a blade. Evening. Someone asks, "Why are you so cold lately?" You set your phone down. Your voice is steady, clear. "I'm not cold. I just stopped paying with myself." Oh, that sentence closes an old door and opens a stone gate guarded by a sentinel named boundary. Rebellion isn't loud. It's a series of small, quiet acts, but each one is irreversible. Cancel a meaningless social meeting. Delete an unnecessary apology. Stop explaining to those who never cared to understand. Each act becomes a brick placed on your new fortress wall. The higher the wall, the quieter the noise. And in that silence, you hear one clear sound. I am no longer prey. You once believed kindness would protect you, but kindness without boundaries is an invitation to invasion. You once believed loyalty earns trust, but blind loyalty only leads you by the leash. You once believed patience brings peace, but patience without limits is a dagger hidden in someone else's sleeve. You realize silence is no longer surrender. It's the buffer between impulse and reaction, and within that space, you reign. From here on, your kindness is no longer reflex. It's a conditional decision. Those who respect boundaries receive more. Those who treat them as invitations find doors closed. No anger, no persuasion, only new friction. Some will say, "You've changed." You'll smile, "Yes, I've buried a version of me that couldn't protect itself." Every rebirth requires a funeral. No drums, no flowers, just one person standing in the dark, hand on their chest, whispering, "Enough." When the need to be loved falls, respect rises on its own. Not everyone loves the face of stone, but everyone fears the edge of the blade. And if you ever feel shaken, remember, this isn't collapse, it's the ritual of forging steel. What breaks is the mask, not the spine. What dies is the habit, not the soul. The road ahead will be empty, but empty doesn't mean lonely. It's the space where you reclaim your throne. Behind you is the call to return to your old role. Ahead lies the nameless dark. You step into that darkness, slow, aware, unapologetic, because only when you dare to walk through the dark will you finally see who the light truly belongs to. And for the first time in your life you understand, resistance isn't rebellion. It's the act of taking back the throne of yourself. They taught you, live right and everything will be fine. Work hard, stay humble, be kind, and the system will protect you. You believed it, and a normal life welcomed you in, like a bright hotel with perfect service, but charging your soul as the fee. Morning, you sip rushed coffee, blend into the crowd, nod, smile, repeat. In the elevator, someone asks, "You good?" You reply, "Good." One short word covering an enormous emptiness. Good means, I can still endure. Good means, I haven't dared to leave yet. Normal is a chrome-plated cage, shiny, clean, with free cookies, and a loyalty card labeled dedicated employee. But the lock is on the inside, the fear of being disliked, of being called difficult, of being labeled different. You smile when you're not happy. You agree when you don't want to. And every time you do, normal tightens its sweet arms around your neck. Afternoon, your boss sends more work, just for today. You remember the dozens of just for todays before. This time, you write a new response. I can take it if the conditions change, as follows. No raised voice, just rewritten rules. Normal doesn't collapse when you scream. It collapses when you start to rewrite the terms, when you refuse to give just a little more. The world feels threatened because you've stopped paying rent for the golden cage. Evening, someone advises, just live in peace. You set your glass down, voice low, steady. I don't live for peace, I live for truth. The words are soft, but they shake old structures. A new line is carved across the table. No one says anything else. You don't need to be understood, you need to be respected. Normal works in subtle ways. It gives small rewards to keep you obedient. A compliment, an emoji, a salary just high enough to make you afraid to leave. It teaches you to say thank you for what should have been yours and to apologize for things you never did wrong. It keeps you busy so you never have time to question. You think you're free, but freedom isn't measured by options. It's measured by the ability to say no without explaining. When you can't refuse what's meaningless, you're not good, you're programmable. The greatest betrayal doesn't come from others. It comes from the normal life you once worshipped. It whispers, stay. Everything will be calm. But the truth is, if you stay, things will be calm until your soul starves to death. Normal is not neutral. It's a system that rewards compliance and punishes difference. Every time you stay silent, they think you agree. Every time you smile it off, they think you can handle more. And so, they pile more weight on your shoulders, until you break while still smiling. One day, you leave the group chat full of hollow jokes. A notification pops up. You left the group. No one says a word. but you can feel the silence baring its teeth. You don't hate anyone. You've simply stopped feeding what drains you. No one has the right to be angry because you stopped donating pieces of yourself. Adults speak through calendars, not moral essays. You begin to read the world differently. Don't listen to respect, read the boundaries. Don't listen to love, read the conditions. Don't listen to agreement, read the structure. When you read correctly, you don't need to argue. You just rearrange the room. What drains energy goes to the door. What returns energy stays close. You don't live to be lovable. You live to be untouchable. You'll lose a few labels: sweet, always available, unconditionally reliable. But you'll regain something greater: deep sleep, sharp focus, and the clean feeling when you face the mirror. Someone will say, "You're not the same anymore." You'll answer calmly, "Correct. I used to live on other people's invoices." No proof needed. No defense required. Only a decree. From the moment you stop seeking approval, normal begins to tremble. It shifts tactics from persuasion to attack. Don't react. Just restructure. Reduce access, slow rhythm, raise conditions. Attackers tire themselves before they reach you. One afternoon, you walk down an old street. The wind feels the same. The crowd still moves. But your steps, steady, firm, unhurried, are not the same. You haven't left the world. You've simply revoked normal's license to operate within your territory. No applause will follow. No spotlight will shine. Only one deep breath in the dark. And a silence so pure. In that silence, you know, you've just taken back control. Crisis never arrives at the wrong time. It comes when you're just tired enough to stop pretending, and just awake enough to stop believing the old lullabies. That night, you don't cry. You don't complain. Only your heartbeat quickens, breath shortens, and an emptiness opens right behind your sternum. You ask yourself, "What did I do wrong?" The answer is silence. Nothing. It's just expired. Morning. The world keeps spinning. Emails, meetings, the same recycled phrases. You still nod, still smile. But the one who's nodding isn't you anymore. What's sitting there is just a habit shaped like you. Crisis doesn't destroy it, strips. It scrapes away everything you once called me, until only the raw core remains the unpainted self. It asks you a cold question. If no one was watching, how would you truly live? You try to cling to the old rhythm. You soothe yourself. It's just a phase. But the soul doesn't speak lies. When truth has been buried too long, it digs itself out with bare hands. Crisis is those hands. Rough, honest, unapologetic. Noon. A message. Lunch to discuss a new plan? Before, you would have said yes instantly. Today, you read the hidden terms. More invisible labor, more unpaid expectation. You reply simply, "Once the conditions are clear, I'll join." No anger, no guilt, just returning the vagueness to where it belongs. Evening, you pass by a bookstore. A line catches your eye. He who fears losing others will always be controlled by them. You close the book. No need to buy it. The sentence is already carved into your chest. Later, a familiar voice calls. Sweet, urgent, disrespectful. Before, you would have listened until the end. Now, you say, 10 minutes. Then I hang up. 10 minutes pass. You hang up. No explanation, no soothing. Just teaching the world how to treat you through time limits. Crisis teaches faster than any course. It never asks if you're ready. It only asks, do you choose to live or to perform? Choose to live. You'll lose some people, some chances, some praise. Choose to perform. You'll keep everything. except yourself. You'll want to escape. Into work, into social media, into noise. But noise only does one thing: postpones the surgery by a week. Crisis doesn't want you stronger through slogans. It wants you restructured through systems. You turn your desk toward the quiet corner. You silence notifications during the sacred hours of body-mind strategy training. On the desk remains one note: reject the meaningless. One night, you sit in the old cafe. Next table, still the same chatter. Complaints, blame, empty jokes. You sit quietly. Not because you're better, but because you no longer belong to that frequency. They call it an existential crisis. You call it a control gate. Step through it, and you're allowed to see life with new eyes. Eyes that no longer fear. Through those eyes, the world rearranges itself. The worthy draw closer, the draining drift away. Your calendar seals its leaks. Your words cut in half, but weigh twice as much. Each sentence now has teeth. Each decision now carries steel. You start noticing coincidences at the right time. A sentence, a video, a stranger's remark arriving just before you give up. No miracle, just the natural order revealing itself when you go quiet. One ordinary morning, you look in the mirror and ask, keep performing or stop. Your mouth whispers, stop. One word, with the weight of a lifetime. From that moment, you stop asking for permission to exist. You sign the decree to advance. Many fear crisis like a verdict, but Machiavelli would say, crisis is the exam of those about to ascend. And first to the said, it's a started beglared scene. It doesn't come to punish. It comes to measure whether you dare to rebuild your life with discipline. Don't fight the crisis. Walk through it. Carry only one thing: sovereignty. And when you reach the other side, the world won't applaud. No fireworks, only a clean silence. And in that silence, you hear your own voice. And for the first time in years, cold, clear, precise. It says, continue. The mind is not a maze to get lost in. It's a blade to be held. And he who cannot hold his own blade will soon hold someone else's, aimed at himself. Anger is an engine, if framed correctly. Fear is a radar, if placed in the right position. Sadness is depth, if disciplined. No emotion is the enemy. The only enemy is reaction. You were taught, don't be angry, don't be afraid, don't be sad. But Machiavelli would say, emotion is not to be extinguished, it is to be commanded. A king doesn't kill his soldiers because they're noisy. He trains them and commands them when the time is right. Morning, a message of attack appears. Before, you would have reacted instantly. Now, it's different. You glance at the clock, exhale slowly, create a delay, then you type 8 words. Issue acknowledged. 2:30 p.m. we settle. The wave of emotion is framed inside the calendar. You no longer strike back. You've just pulled someone else's blade out of your chest and hung it on the wall so you can choose when to touch it. Between stimulus and response lies a narrow strip of land. He who builds his throne there rules himself. You train 3 beats: observe, measure, command. Observe. Is this data or bait? Measure. If I react, what's the cost? Command. Stay silent, question back, or shift to structure. Those 3 beats are the ritual of holding the blade, not to kill, but to preserve sovereignty. You replace speaking to vent with speaking to move. Each sentence short, cold, with teeth. Condition. Deadline. Consequence. The one who speaks less wins longer. Negotiation is not a stage for emotion. It's a chessboard of limited information. He who holds silence longer controls the board. Afternoon. The group chat erupts. You type 3 lines, all numbers and time frames. The wave dies. Structure emerges. No shouting, no teaching. You simply prove that logic can suppress noise. You don't suppress emotion. You orchestrate it like a general commanding his army. Anger leads the march, clears the path. Coldness guards the rear, secures the line. Fear patrols the borders, reminding you to check the terms. Night, you almost send an email in anger. Then you remember the 24-hour rule. For every act that costs reputation, money, or energy. Morning comes. Your first line changes to, "Here's the shortest path to our mutual goal." Insults vanish from your language, not because you don't see, but because insult is no longer granted access. If you must argue, you're in the wrong room. A Machiavellian doesn't argue, he adjusts friction. Raise conditions, lower access. Fix the timing. When structure changes, people change by default. You train the stillness of your gaze. Eyes that follow provocation belong to prey. Eyes that stay fixed on target belong to the controller. When others can't read you, they expose themselves. Ordinary people speak to be understood. Those who hold the blade speak to alter reality. If after 10 minutes, reality remains the same, you've spoken too much. Someone asks, "Why are you so cold? Do you even feel anything?" You smile. Cold is the temperature of clean decisions. Clean decisions save more lives than any apology offered afterward. Each day, you sharpen the blade by 1 millimeter. Remove 1 unnecessary sentence. Moment. Add 1 clear condition. Cut 1 noisy channel. Create 1 new pocket of stillness. Until one day, someone tries to provoke you, but your finger no longer touches the trigger, not out of fear, but out of timing. And when you hear that soft knock in the hallway of your mind, you know fear has arrived. Not to scare you, but to test the sharpness of your blade. You smile. You don't run. You don't suppress. You whisper. Sit down. It's your turn to be trained. Fear is not the enemy. It's the gatekeeper standing between who you were and who you're meant to become. You call it many names: anxiety, insecurity, trembling hands, tight chest. But every fear shares one root, the fear of losing control. Losing people, losing money, losing status, losing image. And because you fear losing, you hand control to everything outside yourself. Morning. You're about to send the email to raise your rates. Your finger hesitates 1 second, 2, then you whisper, "Not the right time yet." But the truth isn't not the right time. The truth is, you fear the cost of a single no. Evening. Someone texts, "Let's meet for a bit." You don't want to, but you go, afraid to disappoint. You call it kindness, but in truth, it's leasing your sovereignty. Look at fear with new eyes. It's not here to shrink you. It's here to ask, have you grown enough to hold yourself yet? When you try to silence fear, it doesn't vanish. It leaks through weak decisions, and piece by piece, it drains your spine in the name of safety. Don't suppress it. Negotiate with it. Treat fear like a hot-tempered general. Give it a position, a mission, but no authority. 3 cold rituals. 1, name it precisely. Don't say, "I'm anxious." Say, "I'm afraid of rejection when I raise my price." When fear has a name, it has a frame, and what has a frame can be carried. 2, measure it. Ask, what's the actual probability of the outcome I fear? Ask, what's the cost if I stay silent for 90 days? Numbers separate you from imagination. In the light of data, monsters shrink. 3, limit its time. Tell it, you have 10 minutes. Then go silent. 10 minutes pass, you act. Fear was heard, but it no longer commands. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is giving orders while your hands still shake. You don't wait until the shaking stops, because when it does, the opportunity is gone. You send the email. Short, cold. This is the realistic rate. If agreed, we sign within 24 hours. No justification. No pleading. Explanation is the act of those asking permission. The sovereign sets conditions. Next time someone demands, right now, you say, date X, time Y. If it's urgent, change the terms. If they explode, you've just learned the quality of that alliance. If they adapt, you've just taught the world your language, the language of calendars and conditions. When you conquer fear, there are no fireworks, only silence. The silence of those who once exploited you because they've lost power. The silence of your body because it has learned you can stand in fire without burning. Remember, fear is a signal, not a sentence. Jung taught you to embrace the shadow to become whole. Machiavelli taught you to mobilize the shadow to rule. Fear is a loyal guard when placed correctly. It stands at the gate, reminding you to check terms before agreeing. It patrols your calendar, protecting sacred hours. It sits beside your wallet, keeping your hand off vague contracts. When you cross your own boundary, don't tear yourself apart. Just punish precisely. The body learns faster through reward and consequence than through any speech. Night. You sit alone. Fear appears, sitting across from you. You look long enough to realize what torments you isn't fear itself, but shame for being afraid. When shame falls off your shoulders, fear becomes just another job, and your job is to move forward. Every time you say no, every time you close an old door, every time you stay silent, when your heart wants to explain, you carve another mark on the map of courage. Not emotional courage, scheduled courage. People will call you ruthless, but true ruthlessness is letting fear drive and destroy everything. You're the opposite. You dress fear in uniform, assign it a shift, and make it work for you. And when that happens, you finally see what Machiavelli once wrote. He who commands his fear has no enemies left outside himself. Part 6. The Death of the Old Identity. Polished American version. Every rebirth requires a funeral. No drums, no audience, just you and the role that has expired. You once lived by soft labels, always available, easygoing, unconditionally kind. Masses sepel most well. They earned approval and stole sovereignty. Morning. You open your closet. The safe clothes line up neatly loyal soldiers of fear. You pick 3 outfits you used to wear, only to please someone. Fold them. Place them in a bag. Not fashion ritual. The ritual of cutting strings. Noon. A colleague texts. Need help. Urgent. The old you would rush in. Today, you reply simply. That's within my scope. Beyond it, we change the terms. One short sentence turns kindness from reflex into authority. Evening. A family dinner. Someone jokes. You're still easy to handle, right? You set the fork down. Look straight. No. I'm clear. The room falls silent for one beat. You've just laid the first brick of a fortress called boundary. The funeral of the old identity has no tears. Only a series of small but irreversible decisions. Delete. Sorry for bothering you when you did nothing wrong. Leave the chat that drains your energy. Turn off notifications after 9 p.m. and call it law. No declaration needed. Only enforcement. Don't preserve the old identity just because it feels familiar. Jung called the persona the social mask. You don't destroy the mask. You store it labeled tool. From now on, the mask serves you. It no longer rules you. You no longer live as I am. You live as I choose. 3 rituals of rebirth. 1. Write the obituary for the old role. I stop being the one who always agrees. I stop being the one who always explains. Sign it. Fold it. Keep it in your wallet. 2. Rewrite your schedule. The core hours for body, mind, and strategy become inviolable. Anyone who wants to enter must face conditions. 3. Tax transparency. Your information has value. Public standards, private strategies. If they want to know more, they must deposit commitment. Someone will say, "You've changed." You nod, "Yes." The previous version was designed to please them. This one is designed to protect me. You don't need to persuade. You only need consistency. Because consistency is the kind of power that makes others adjust without you raising your voice. Night. You draft a long message to explain why you left. Then delete it. Send a single period. Enough. When words become expensive, silence gains value. Saturday. You clear your desk. Only 3 things remain. A notebook, a pen, a paper with 12 words. Hold standard daily. Cut useless noise. Let silence have teeth. Everything else into the drawer. Everyone who disrespects the standard, out the door. You'll miss being called sweet. You'll crave the feeling of making everyone happy. Let that craving pass like hot wind. Behind it lies the cool air of autonomy. There's a strange moment. You look in the mirror, not seeking absolution in anyone's eyes. Your face isn't bright, it's still. And stillness means the spine has returned to its place. From now on, when someone tries to pull you back into your old role, you don't argue. You don't perform. You simply reduce access, slow rhythm, raise conditions. They'll leave on their own, not out of hate, but because there's no profit left. Light falls on the new empty space of your desk. You realize this isn't loneliness. This is space to build. When the funeral ends, there's no announcement, only a sign hanging at the gate. From here on, everything that happens is either by my choice or by my permission. Those who understand may enter, those who don't turn back. And, as the door closes, a cold voice rises inside your mind. No one will bring you a crown. You crown yourself through discipline. Truth isn't gentle. No one is coming to pull you out of the pit. Not your lover, not your family, not your teacher, not the universe. Only you and the decree you sign yourself. You've grown used to waiting for the promotion email to prove your worth. Waiting for someone to change so the relationship can breathe. Waiting for the right time to take the leap. But waiting is just a graceful form of delay. And delay is still a decision to stay imprisoned. Morning. You open your inbox. No good news. Just another. Can you help with this? You start typing, sure. Then stop, delete, rewrite. I can take it if the conditions change as follows. No raised tone, just a shift from requester to ruler. You begin to understand. Every time you wait for someone to save you, you're signing an order that strips your own power. The world doesn't steal from you. You hand it over. Noon. You meet an old flame. They talk about the past, promise the future, and ask for more time. The old you would have softened. Today, you ask, in the next 30 days, what action will be irreversible? Silence. You stand up, pay your part, leave. No anger, just the end of outsourcing your freedom. Evening. You face the mirror. No comfort, no pity. Just one sentence written on paper. From today, Everything in my life happens either by my choice or by my permission. Sign it. Not a mantra, a royal decree. From that moment, power returns to your hands. You don't need to control others, only yourself. You cancel your contracts of dependency. You audit every place you've ever bought peace. A compliment, a look, approval, a pleasant image. Each of them a small slave contract, and you tear them one by one. You trade hope for commitment. Hope is the verb of the weak. Commitment is the noun of the sovereign. You choose one irreversible action for the next 90 days. No announcement, just execution. You apply the law of cold response. Trade emotion for condition. Trade vagueness for schedule. Trade attack for reduced access. When the structure changes, people change. That's the art of adjusting friction. Afternoon, a big collaboration offer. Terms vague. Before, you would have said yes. Now, you reply with a file of 3 lines. Scope, deadline, consequence. If they dodge, door closed. Not out of pride, out of territorial hygiene. Night, someone calls, "Let's talk. I'm feeling heavy." You glance at the clock. Voice low, firm. 10 minutes. 10 minutes pass. You hang up. Not cruel, just on time. Self-respect needs no soundtrack. It has its own music. The click of a call ending exactly when you said it would. Morning. A message. "You've changed. You're cold." You reply, "I'm clear." Then silence. And that silence has teeth. You're not ruthless with others. You're ruthless with your own hesitation. Every time you want to delay, you reread your decree. Every time you want to ask permission, you inhale, then give the command. A week passes. You're different. A month passes. The world around you changes. No miracles. Just the hydrology of power. You redirect the river, and the water naturally flows into the channel you've carved. You finally see why most people never grow up. They wait for someone else to perform the ceremony of adulthood for them. But you conduct it yourself, in silence. No crown, no witnesses, just a straight spine, a clear calendar, and a law with teeth. From the moment you stop waiting for rescue, everything starts to bow. Because the world always submits to those who no longer need to be saved. Power is not something you take from others. It's what remains in your hands. When everything around you begins to shake. The weak try to control the world. The strong only need to control themselves. Because when order exists within, the outside world has no choice but to bow. Morning. Your phone lights up like a marketplace. Before, you opened everything. Now, you lock the gates. No push notifications. No reflexes. You look at your task list. 3 cold columns like military orders. Hard, soft, drop. You touch the first line. The other 2 await command. Not because you're busy, but because you have structure. When your attention gains value, everything starts to respect you. A Machiavellian doesn't need to shout to command. They simply control what they see. The mind is a weapon, and a weapon only works when it's oiled by discipline. You once thought self-control meant tightening up, but it's actually the art of energy distribution. You know when to speak, when to stay silent, when to disappear. A sarcastic message arrives. Before, you would have reacted. Now, you respond with structure. Acknowledged. Meeting at 2 p.m. Finalize at 2:15. Emotion evaporates when time enters the room. No need to teach anyone, just schedule them. Afternoon. Someone pushes you into defense. You look straight and say, "I need 2 minutes to gather the data." 2 minutes of silence heavy as falling steel. Then everyone lowers their gaze. not out of fear, but because order has just appeared. You learn to speak less, and when you do, every word has teeth. No more, "Sorry, I've been busy," only, "I'll respond during my active window." No more, "I hope," only, action within this limit. You translate emotional language into the language of conditions. Night. You're about to send a long message. You type, then stop, save as draft. Next morning, you reread it and send only one line. This is the shortest route to our shared goal. All justification falls away. Clarity becomes the language of power. Someone asks, "Why are you so cold?" You reply, "Cold is the temperature of clean decisions, because without clean decisions, there is no durable power." Those who haven't mastered themselves live in reaction. Those who have live in design. You divide your inner kingdom, like a sovereign partitioning land. Body, allowed to rest, but on schedule. Mind, allowed to think, but within frame. Emotion, allowed to speak, but not to hold the microphone. In every conversation, you don't need to win. You only need not to lose energy. Every response must create either order or silence. If not, you're in energy debt. Others speak to be understood. You speak to reshape reality. Because if reality doesn't shift, every word is noise. When someone loses their temper, you don't react. You observe like watching a storm from the deck of your ship. You let them exhaust themselves. Then you say one cold line, "We'll talk when the wind dies." That's the art of deliberate delay, the foundation of control. One day, you realize, no one is truly powerful because they defeat others. They're powerful because they never betray themselves. You keep the 3 Machiavellian laws. Hold stillness amid provocation. Hold schedule amid chaos. Hold conditions amid desire. From this point on, you no longer need to prove strength. You only need to prove one thing. No one can pull you out of your orbit. And when that happens, the world begins to rearrange itself around you. Not because you threaten it, but because you've become steady, like the axis around which order spins. Inside you, order now exists. Now it's time for the world to adjust. Because true power doesn't live in words. It lives in the laws you set, the territory you command, and the alliances you choose. Without those 3, your inner strength will erode under random invitations, random people, and random timing. You begin with law. Law is not a reminder. Law is structure with teeth. Without consequence, every principle is just advice. Morning, you write 3 short decrees, each 4 words. Place them in front of you. Read once. Then act as if they've always existed. Someone sends a request beyond your scope. You don't moralize. You simply reply, "New scope, new terms." If they agree, proceed. If they evade, door closes. And a closed door isn't an insult. A closed door is the sound of law functioning. Afternoon, a co-worker tests a boundary. You don't scold. You reduce access. No justification. No threats. Law doesn't need explanation, only execution. Once law stands, you build territory. In this era, territory has 4 layers. Physical space, time, information, social distance. You turn your desk away from noise. You lock your core hours, the time you train, body, mind, and strategy. No one enters. Every meeting passes through the gate of scheduling, not emotion. Because when emotion books your time, you've already surrendered sovereignty. You also reduce tactical transparency. Make your standards public, hide your roots. No one needs to know what you think, only that your standards don't move. When your information has value, people start paying with commitment. Respect follows invoices, not intentions. Someone invites you to meet casually just to connect. Before, you'd have gone immediately. Now, you ask, after this meeting, what reality changes? If the answer is vague, the meeting loses its reason to exist. You're not cold. You're protecting your territory from erosion. And finally, you choose alliances. Alliances aren't emotions. They're equations of mutual benefit, with minimal morality required. You don't seek people who resemble you. Those who mirror you will compete with you. You seek complements, pieces that interlock with precision, forming a machine. An old friend offers collaboration. You don't promise. You assign one irreversible action within 7 days. Small, clear, with teeth. If they deliver, the gate opens. If they delay, the gate narrows. No anger, just calibrated friction. Don't beg the world to be kind. Build an order in which the careless automatically have no place. You pin a note to your desk with 12 words. Hold standard daily. Cut useless noise. Let silence have teeth. You divide your calendar into 3 layers. Core, inviolable. Operational, gated. Perimeter, selective presence. You keep 2 ledgers. One white, one black. The white records those who create momentum, punctual, clear, consistent. The black records those who drain it, vague, late, consuming. No hatred in either book, only the hydrology of power. Morning, you walk down an old street. The wind feels the same. The crowd still thick, but your steps even, low, steady. Not because the world has softened, but because the world has learned to read your laws. You don't build order to hide from life. You build order to expand it, on the orbit you chose. And when everything finally locks into place, there's only one last ritual. No applause, no spotlight, just one deep breath in the dark, and a cold, clear declaration carved into stone. From this moment on, I do not survive in the dark. I place my throne within it. The ashes have cooled. The machine runs smooth. Silence thick as stone. You stand upright, no fanfare. No one crowns you. You place the seal upon your own life. Not with ceremony, but with stability. You've walked through it all. The first rebellion, the mask of normal torn away. Crisis turned into invitation, the mind forged into a weapon, fear dressed as a guard, the old identity buried, the illusion of rescue dissolved. You built discipline to master yourself, and finally, you built a world ruled by your own laws. From this moment, every breath is no longer reaction. Each breath is alignment. Every silence is no longer endurance. Silence becomes the depth of power. You speak less, but every word has teeth. You no longer seek fairness. You design law. You no longer beg to be understood. You create impact. You no longer chase affection. You tax attention. Your kindness is no longer reflex. It's a conditional decision. Your silence is no longer retreat. It's the space to issue command. The information you release has a price. The boundaries you set need no justification because they are enforced. And the world begins to understand. You haven't changed. You've reclaimed ownership of yourself. Morning, you reread the 12 words. Hold standard daily. Cut useless noise. Let silence have teeth. Your hand rests on your chest. Breath steady. Rhythmic like an engine of power, driven by will. Afternoon, a vague invitation knocks. You open slightly, ask for purpose. No clear objective door closes. No anger, just precision. because decisiveness is the language of sovereignty. Evening. The mirror returns a still face, not glowing, not needing validation, because stillness is the highest state of strength. No hunger for praise, no need for audience. You only seek alignment between will and action. Someone says, "You've changed." They're setting with him or a glass. You answer quietly, "Yes." The old version was built to please others. This one was built to protect myself. They fall silent, because in your tone, there's nothing left to persuade, only the command of clarity. You sit in the dark, no prayer, no meditation, just the sound of your heartbeat, steady, cold, real. Then you whisper, "I don't ask for permission to exist. I sign the order to advance." One deep breath, a stretch of perfect stillness, then 2 lines engraved on paper. Everything in my life happens either by my choice or by my permission. I do not seek peace. I seek control. You fold the paper, not onto the desk, but against your chest, like a seal proof that the coronation is complete. Outside, the world remains loud, but inside, a new order has closed its circle. No spotlight, no applause, only a clean silence, a steady breath. And in that breath, you no longer survive in the dark. You ascend in it. Every power begins with one small decision. If you've walked this far with me, like, share, and subscribe to stay in rhythm with the awakening minds. I'll see you in the next video, where we no longer learn how to survive, but how to rule ourselves.